Fiora Full Bloom. Experience the emotional tale of a deer's journey of self-discovery as you fight your way through the drought lands. Equip an identity that suits you. Will you find purpose beyond these desert sands? You can do anything. You are a flower of rainless earth. Fiora Full Bloom is on itch.io. All proceeds from purchasing this game go towards various Black trans crowdfunds. Play it today.
Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to RPG Maker Cola.
Hey RPG Maker Cola listeners, welcome to RPG Maker Cola Season 2. Yet again, here we are, fizzing and bubbling like a cool carbonated drink on a hot day. But you're outside, so you're not stuck inside, and you're around people. And it's sunny, and game developers are outside having a chat about life and philosophy. Wait, I think I'm breaking immersion a little bit. Why would a developer ever be outside? That's fake. Just kidding. We're all sporty athletes here at RPG Maker Cola, and you better know it's your fizzy, soda-filled source of content for game development opinions that mean very little in the grand scheme of things. And it's your favorite RPG Maker podcast, RPG Maker Cola, with your host Benny, also known as Cash, also known as the Puzzle Snob, also known as Guy who's overwhelmed at the reception of Season 1 of the podcast. And this is the place for you. It's a chill space where we get together skilled developers from the RPG Maker community to chat cordially and occasionally non-cordially about game development, game design, and probably a whole bunch of unrelated other stuff too. It's casual, it's cool, it's cola. Today I have two guests who I am very proud to introduce because they not only create visually stunning games that experiment in mood, atmosphere, and form. From what I've experienced, they're just really kind people. And I believe it's the first time I've had developers on board that also listen to the podcast. It's overwhelming and I feel utterly privileged to have them on board this RPG Maker ship. Yeah, what am I saying? Anyway, I'm saying that our first guest is someone who exhibits excellent visual flair, but also has dabbled in the mystery genre. Yes, you heard it right, mystery games. But first, let's list the games that I know about. There's Cute, where you play as a robotic vacuum AI to help clean up your master's home before they arrive back. So adorable. And then there's Machines That Bleed, a self-professed cheesy investigation visual novel, where you play aspiring investigator Buster trying to bust open a case in I think it's a sci-fi dystopia type thing, I'm not sure. Just go ahead and play it. Which was a sort of proto-project to their first main project, Lockheart Indigo, which is just like playing a fantastic mystery game where you're a private eye trying to uncover a rich family's secrets, but on a Game Boy's monochromatic screen, except there's vividly colored portraits and sprites and Zelda-like rooms and gorgeous interface and innovative battle system. Plus she's got a mysterious project coming out called Limbs of Cognition, which is like a story-driven Zelda-like combat game where you're fighting a rogue AI and apparently reads Ubelblatt and watches Bob's Burgers. And has scored a job at Ubisoft as a UI artist. Wow, I've said enough. You probably already want to hear from her yourselves. Why is my voice still here? The one, the only, Harmless.
Hi. Thank you for the wonderful intro. Hi, I'm Harmless. I'm a trans, and I'm located in, I'm French-Canadian, so I'm located in Canada. And yeah, I've been making games for a few years. I studied in multimedia integration in college beforehand, and I used to be in punk bands before that in college and whatnot. So my background is very musical. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's pretty much that.
So cool to have you on board.
Thanks.
Finally. Our second guest is also just as awesome, duh. If you haven't heard of Grimm's Hollow, what, have you been living under a rock? It's okay if you haven't, but just download it now. It's free, looks gorgeous, go grab it now. And if you go on this little thing called Steam, you look at the free games, it's the 8th highest rated free game on Steam, no engine qualifier. It's the 5th highest ranked RPG Maker game on Steam. And not only is it popular, it's just also really gorgeously animated and really uniquely visually it's just vibey. It's got items like spooky cookies and deathlicious donuts, just lots of comfort food, lots of cute ghosts, lots of mean ghosts, 3 haunted caves to explore, and multiple endings. What started off as a side project just ballooned in popularity, and everyone loves this thing. I may be mistaken, they seem like quite a new dev on the scene, and already massive waves have made so much potential. I just can't wait to see what they have on the cards. No pressure. just healthy hype for an exceptional artist in dev. I'm so privileged to announce and welcome Ghosthunter.
Hi. Just trying not to cry during that intro. That was so kind. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm really happy to be here. So
Yeah, I'm really privileged to have both of you here. Good feelings all round. And now that we're well acquainted, it's the Buzz Corner time. Welcome to the Buzz Corner, the place where we talk about what RPG Maker games are gaining buzz at the moment. I've asked each guest to bring an RPG Maker game to talk about they're pretty interested in. They don't have to have played it, it just has to have a game page or something that looks interesting to them. I'm bringing Therapist Mind Manager by Colunio. This is just like a excellently written monochromatic game by a developer, Colunio, who's been a guest on season 1 of this podcast, but I actually finally got around to playing the game, or they released the game that they were talking about on podcast. I've been a massive Colunio fan. You play a therapist in a city, managing your time, money, and other mood-related stats in a fully fledged life sim created in RPG Maker. This is definitely one of my favorite Colunio stories. You have therapist sessions where you're leading a therapy session with different clients and different days, and the way that Colunio knows therapy is actually informed by the fact they worked at a psychology clinic and they have the PhD and they know so much about the subject matter that it feels so real. What you eat affects you, what you do with your time, your money, it affects your mood, and you're scheduled to be at different places at different times, and if you don't turn up, there's a penalty. It's just like, these ideas are so intense. I love them so much. I just wish this game had more exposure because it was just released, and then I don't think as many people picked up on it as I would have wished. A lot of people, it was featured on RPGmaker.net, but it didn't get any I think it didn't get any major reviews or anything, and then it just kind of faded. So I just hope, it wins some of the Masao Awards or something, gets a little bit of attention, and then people start to notice how great of a game it is. So yeah, go check it out. See if it's the game for you. It's quite a polarizing game as well, so it's not for everyone, but for those who it does resonate with, I think it will really resonate quite deeply.
What about it makes it polarizing?
I know him for Beautiful Escaped Engineer, and I think that game was also really polarizing for its dark, disturbing content. So I think does he have a track record in this, or?
A little bit. Colunio will take experiments of thought and write stories about them, and Therapist does have some. So it might have some sort of triggering content in there. So that is, it is. I think it's explored in a really mature way, and I will put some sort of not safe for work spoiler on there, just to say it's not. It doesn't take joy in reveling in that sort of dark content. I don't think it ever does. It sort of reveals something about humanity, and it's all very well told. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Harmless, what game would you like to bring today to the Buzz Corner?
So, I was in a difficult position when choosing one because I'm currently in a Lockheart Indigo is in a bundle right now on itch.io. Though by the time you hear this, the special will be over. With two friends of mine, and they have both really cool games. So I want to bring to the table today Blue Blood, and the reason why I picked this one is because the mechanics just really spoke to me. Essentially, Blue Blood is a high society furry revenge fantasy type story where you go to a ball where people go there and you can kill people. It's legal in that space, or I don't know if legal is the right word, but essentially that's what you go there, and your main character goes there with a plot of taking down the girl who's in charge of the show. and the story has a lot of interesting intrigues. It really goes into the kind of you really play someone who's both a sinister person, a sinister character, while also wanting to be free of like this heaviness that they have in them. And I hate to use that expression, but to me it really is like the Dark Souls of RPG Maker games. Like the fighting is really hard. You win each battle by the gum of your teeth, and there really is a bit of that like I don't want to say horror, but like it's really got that like kind of the crowd is laughing around you kind of thing, and you're kind of like you've got that like and you want to prove that you're worth something. It's great. I really got sucked into it. And I do want to leave a little shout out for the other game that's in the bundle, Misdirector, which is a very cute horror game where you play as an actress who's invited to a director's mansion for a play, and things go awry, and essentially there's ghosts, and you get to meet you get to meet cute ghosts who they help you out and maybe go on a date with you. It's, the line's a little blurred there, but it's all very cute and fun, and there's horror.
I mean, we all love cute ghosts, don't we?
Yeah.
Blue Blood it seems to be created in RPG Maker. It's got some sort of it's got the attack, items, defend kind of battle system in there, but at least visually it looks very sort of horror oriented as well at the same time, would you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's like other visual novels as well. I can't remember the names of them, but on Steam and stuff, like there's the obvious ones like Danganronpa and stuff, but there's other one. What's the visual novel where you're in a room and you have to kill other people? Oh, you have to figure out who's killing the other people. Yeah, those ones, those games. Is there anything like that sort of concept?
I wouldn't say so. Like, it's very much like you've got a mansion and you're making a way through like you've got these like quote unquote bosses that each represent a different person in the life of the target that you're going to take down at the end, and the main character really has a very personal connection with the person that they want to take down, which leads to a lot of like interesting narrative. The thing that I really like about the game too is that the characters are like, there's a complexity to them, there's a depth to them. Even if you don't get to go fully in it, you really feel that in the way they are and their opinions about things. So yeah, very good stuff.
Yeah. There's also warnings on the page. It says abuse, some flashing lights, and rich people. So if
if rich people trigger you, don't.
Yeah. Which should be a more common trigger warning. Ghost Hunter, what would you like to bring to the Buzz Corner today?
The last RPG Maker game I played was a game by Lucith, and I don't know how to pronounce her username, so I'm just going to spell it for anyone who wants to Google it. Leusyth, and it's called Astrid and the Witch, and it's about like a grandmother, which I feel like we need more grandmother protagonists. Like, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, like this and Howl's Moving Castle is like proof that we need more grandmother protagonists in like fantasy settings, because like the writing potential and like the humor and the comedic potential for that is always like super high. So I feel like it's sad that's underexploited. But Astrid and the Witch is like Lucy's first game, and I think it's very like cute and charming, and it's got like it doesn't play like a typical RPG, but it's sort of hard for me to explain like why. Like it doesn't really have much of a tutorial, which I think is generally a common problem with first games. But I think like if you're, like most of the people listening to this will be a bit experienced RPGs, so they'll be able to figure it out quickly. But in Astrid and the Witch, you gain skills by like crafting potions, and you get the resources for crafting potions by like exploring the map basically. So instead of like a typical progression system, a lot of it is based on crafting, which I thought was interesting. And what I really enjoyed about it was like the characters and like the sense of humor. Like in terms of like the amount of story content, it's a little small, but like it's more like a linear dungeon exploration. But like the like the cute art and like the sense of humor and the atmosphere like made it a fun experience for me. And it's just like a small RPG you could finish in an afternoon basically. So I would recommend it based on those terms. But
Yeah, to give people a sense of maybe the vibe of this, there is a enemy with snakes for hair and an electric guitar and camo pants and a smiley singlet. Yeah, and then there's also somebody with a open pink jacket and a robotic sort of head. This looks amazing. Visually, it's stunning. Visually, it looks stunning. Excellent. That looks great. I love the look of this thing. Now that we're finished talking about RPG Maker games, let's go into our next segment. We've been playing games. Maybe? Hey, you there. Have you been playing games? If not, that's fine. But if so, you can listen here. And if not, you can also listen here, as each of us talk about a game we've been currently playing or have played before, and explain what we liked and disliked about it. And I will be talking about a game that I think has actually been quite important during this year of 2020, we call 2020. It's called the Jackbox Party Pack. You might have heard about it. It's just a little game. This might seem like a strange choice, but during the time of this recording, many people are still in lockdowns due to the pandemic, and I think it's quite important to find ways to connect even despite our distance. And the Jackbox Party Pack has been, for some time, one of them. It's just become more important now. I feel like it's like Animal Crossing, the way that it's been sort of unintentionally designed for a period of time like this. And now it's just become this haven, I think. It's a multiplayer party game simulator. And I think what's cool about it, you play party games online that aren't sort of like focusing on quote-unquote skill and talent, and more focusing on personality, like who writes the funniest, dumbest line that everyone likes, or who draws the silliest stick man, or who made a funny typo that everyone else sort of makes inside jokes about. I really love this game quite a lot, and if you crave being with people right now because you're not allowed to, I reckon try it out. Invite some people for a game if you can. Hop on a Discord server and stay for each other. Yeah, that's my game.
Jackbox is cool. I've played it a little bit recently.
the last time I played it with my computer science teacher. We were doing like school from home, right? So at some point, I think we were all just like a little fed up. So someone just posted like a link to Drawful 2 in the chat. It was great.
Yeah.
Harmless, have you been playing any games lately?
I have. I've released my inner weeb, and I've been playing so many anime hack and slash games. I swear it is my new life passion now. And the game I want to talk about, I want to present to you today, is a little game called Assault Spy, which is a not really serious game about spies. And so the main character is like a little blue-haired anime boy with like his gimmick is that he's a business spy. He's like a corporate spy. So his like design is like, he's got the cool like blue suit, but underneath there's like a like bullet vest mecha armor thing underneath. Like design is really clever in how it's subtle about it. Like it's hidden underneath his jacket, and he doesn't have a sword or a like weapon or a gun or anything. He has a fucking suitcase, and his distance attack is business cards that he throws, and his like quote unquote super attack is like he has an umbrella that he uses like a sword. So his theme is like corporate espionage, and then you've got other types of spies. Like you've got the American FBI spy, which is like this girl who has like red and blue all over her, and she has like a rocket launcher, and like it's dumb fun is the best way I can describe it. And the fighting is like genuinely rewarding. You really feel like as you're unlocking combos, your character is becoming stronger because you as a player are just button smashing and not really caring what you're doing, but your character is doing a bunch of cool anime stuff, so you're having fun. And the story is just kind of like not serious and kind of adorable, and I had a really good time with it, and I hope the developers make more. I think it's their first game.
Wow.
So very cool. Yeah.
I think what's super cool about it, like it's a funny game. It looks like a funny it's got dashes of comedy and absurdism and sort of like you're a business person fighting people off with your suitcase. Like what could be more awesome than that? I think experimenting with comedy as a developer is if you can pull it off really well, I think it can pay dividends because you can create something that's truly unique. like assault spy.
I think video games are like really good for dumb fun or like narratives that like dumb fun narratives that you probably couldn't pull off in like other mediums, although I would be really interested if you did. But like as in like for video games, like if you want to make a game about like a chicken with a gun or something, and then you can make like a really deep story about the chicken with the gun, and like it would be fine and it would be accepted, and like that, and but like if you try to bring it up in like Hollywood or something, it would be like, no.
I listen here, mate. Me mom's been killed by a farmer. I gotta go get her. I gotta go find who killed my goose wife.
Yeah. So when you were talking about like dumb fun, that's what I was thinking of. Also, by the way, like your current project was like an action RPG, I think. So
yeah,
was that?
You're connecting here something here.
It's fine. Yeah.
Wait. So like, has like Assault Spy been inspiring in that sense, or?
Yeah, no. If you, I think it'd be cool to talk about it like in a later segment. But yeah, you've completely connected a few dots. I think it'll be cool to talk about when I talk about Lockhart Indigo, because like I like to think of Lockhart and Limbs as like their call and response to each other. Like I very much went in one direction, and I'm going in the complete opposite direction for Limbs. So yeah.
Because like when you swish across the screen, when you dash, it has a bunch of speed lines like you've left a ghost version of yourself behind, and every movement is like telegraphed with these speed lines. It's such a unique style. I don't think I've seen it this exaggerated in any sort of game that I've watched.
Oh yeah, it does what it does really good, and it's like the vibe I'm getting from it is that it's like it's not a AAA, but it's not an indie. It's like a B film type like thing. And I've been obsessed with like B level video games lately, just because they're cool. Like they allow themselves to be weird because they don't have the pressures of AAA, but also they've got the manpower of like a business. So I don't know, it's just very spicy stuff. I'm also my mind is like now working on this like duck story that Ghosthunter had. Okay, it's a hard boiled detective. So like his egg was actually hard boiled, and he cracked out of it anyways, because that's how tough the duck is.
Detective.
Ducktective.
Oh no. I think that name might have sealed it. Like having the name seals the possibility just a little bit more. Let's not tempt Harmless too much with this.
Collab?
I mean that name belongs to like a skit in Gravity Falls, so I can't claim credit for that. But yeah, I'm sorry, but like we can.
Gravity Falls call us.
Yeah. Ghosthunter, what game have you been playing lately?
I've been playing an old Nintendo DS game called Ghost Trick, and Ghost Trick is created and written by game designer Shu Takumi, who you may know for creating the Ace Attorney series. And I think this is his only game that he's made that is sort of standalone and is not related to Ace Attorney in any way. Because I'm not really counting like Dai Gakuten Saiban right now, but like. It's also like kind of like I think it's kind of like a shame because I really like Ghost Trick, and it's like if Takumi made more like standalone games that are not necessarily Ace Attorney, even though I love Ace Attorney a lot, I think it would be really interesting. Because Ghost Trick is like a puzzle game. It has nothing to do with like interrogation or anything, not like the Ace Attorney gameplay, but it's like you play as a ghost who has lost his memory, but and he needs to find out how he died before the break of dawn. But the thing is that you would think, like, playing as a ghost that you would have like lots of freeform movement, but with Ghost Trick you can only move around by connecting to nearby objects within a certain radius. So that causes like most of the puzzle gameplay, because you have to figure out how to get to point A to point B a lot. But and then like the second part of like the title called Trick, that's like Trick is like the name of a mechanic where you can interact with the objects you connect to. So for like example, if you possess like a telephone, then when you press Trick, you can like dial the telephone or something. You can make it do something. So I mean, so like a lot of the puzzles are. When you move around, like you can also pause time a bit. So a lot of the puzzles are based off that, like, those gameplay mechanics. But I don't know. In terms of gameplay, like, the bit that I really enjoy the most is like there are these sections where you have to prevent character deaths from just using those mechanics. So yeah, you have to run like 4 minutes in time before someone dies and like manipulate the environment using like telephones and like chandeliers and whatnot to prevent someone dying. And it's very like it can get very tense sometimes because like sometimes you can only prevent deaths happening like 5 seconds before they die. So and then like you know like how in Ace Attorney like the music like rises up the closer you get to like finishing a court case or something. You get like a sort of similar-ish feeling when you're like about to prevent a death. So it's cool. It's great. But also, I mean, I talked a lot about the puzzles, but primarily Ghost Trick is like a game that's about its personality and its story and its like its charm, basically. If you like really stylish games with personality, you will love Ghost Trick. And if you like Phoenix Wright, you will like Ghost Trick as well. So yeah,
the cover has like the character as a ghost, but also like right underneath him is his dead body, and he's like butt up. And it's just so undignified. Like, poor guy.
I was going to mention that as well. I love the cover art; it's amazing.
Yeah, I think
you play as the coolest loser in the world.
I mean, I think the fact that his head is kind of like banana shaped is peak character design. So yeah. I love it.
There's that sort of there's that sense of humor coming through.
Oh yeah, it's like a ghost. Oh my god, that's so funny. In the living life, he had a ghost haircut. It's
amazing. Yeah, you got this sort of comedic kind of tone coming through. I think.
Because like Ace Attorney, like what I really enjoyed about Ace Attorney was a sense of humor. So like, if you like the sense of humor of Ace Attorney, then like that's in Ghost Trick. So yeah.
Yeah, so basically...
What I really liked of Ace Attorney was the big burly guys, but that's just my opinion.
I mean, that's also valid.
I'm joking.
Also, I feel bad if someone doesn't know what Ace Attorney is right now, because like I just mentioned it so many times in the last 5 minutes.
Go look it up. They can music Google.
There's music rising and this big burly man.
Yeah, so basically... for example, the main character Sissel would need to possess the door and then perform what's known as a ghost trick to open the door. Basically, you enter the ghost world and you can drag another object to possess it, but your reach is limited. That's kind of what you're going the gameplay design, and then they probably just start building elements on it from there. Is that how it works? Like more and more sort of layers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm just guessing what the gameplay is based on the description.
Yeah, it's a little difficult to explain without like showing a gameplay video directly, but that's more or less how it works. So.
Yeah, true. I'll have to go look that up. Now that we've finished the games section, we're going to go on our next segment, which is topics we must discuss because this is a podcast and it's serious. Here's the part of the podcast where we ask the serious questions. Our first question that I have for y'all is, how did you come about making games? If RPG Maker, how did you discover RPG Maker, and what's your general story?
I discovered RPG Maker through how most people discovered RPG Maker, which was watching like popular playthroughs by popular YouTubers. I think back in the day, playthroughs of classic RPG horror such as Ib, Yume Nikki, The Witch's House, etc. And then like from there, my interest sparked, and I went and discovered RPGmaker.net because that was like the community for making games. And then I remember distinctively looking into it and figuring out how do I make an RPG Maker game. And then I eventually stopped when I realized two things, which was like, A, I need to purchase the newer ones with money, and then B, it's actually a lot of work to make a good game. And then like for a couple of years, I don't remember the time span because like I was a kid, but like for a while I just like I stopped I stopped looking into it, and that was like the end of that. Besides from occasionally playing like RPG Maker games I found, but then that sort of had to change around at some point during middle school because there was this new kid who became like my closest friend, and like I remember like one of the first like conversations I had with him was bear in mind that like I did not have like a lot of friends who played video games at the time. So like of course like one of my first questions was like what video games do you play? And then like they went and responded, oh, I like RPG horrors like Yume Nikki and Ib, and then my mind was like shook. So because I met someone IRL who actually likes these games. So and then after that we just kind of went a little nuts, and then we both like purchased RPG Maker together, and then we both like tried to make games and stuff, and that sparked the interest again. And then a couple of years passed where I had like RPG Maker experience, but also I was in high school and I had no games to show for like all of my strange and abandoned experiments in RPG Maker. So then I had this RPG Maker experience, and like I was entering high school soon, and I sort of felt like this is probably a good time period to make something, and something I can actually show, because like I had a feeling that like after summer vacations I won't have as much time to make games again, and also it felt kind of awkward to spend so much time in RPG Maker and then just suddenly drop it. Like so I made GH as a sort of like result of wanting to finally have something to show, I guess. And then I'm here. was that like a good answer or like...
Yeah, no, that's good. I was going to ask a question that the RPGmaker.net, your account says that you joined in February of 2019, but did you lurk before then without a account?
I am like a professional lurker, so yeah, like I didn't have an account because I was too shy to interact with anyone, for real, so... Yeah.
But would you say this is your first released game?
Grimm's Hollow?
Yeah.
It's my... okay. Technically speaking, there was a jam game that I made before Grimm's Hollow, which helped cement like all of my understanding of like project management and making games in ARM2K3, because I mean I feel like jam games are like a great way for understanding how to make games like when you're starting out, because being forced underneath a time constriction really makes you like consider like how much can you actually get accomplished in a time limit, because a lot of the problem with like planning games and planning projects and finishing your game is just trying to figure out your scope. So like jams are great for figuring out like what kind of scope could you do for your first project, I guess. Like does that make sense? Yeah, because
your jam game, was this a game that you completed by yourself as well?
I made that with my friend, and then yeah.
The Yume Nikki friend?
Yeah. Yes, the Yume Nikki friend, yeah. It was like 30 minutes of gameplay. We only managed 30 minutes of gameplay, but like we had planned out like a crafting system, like a full-on like 10-hour JRPG, and the only thing we managed to churn out was 30 minutes. So that's why I'm stressing that like jam games are so important for figuring out what you can do. But
oh yeah. I strongly agree. I found a nickname for your friend, a Yume bestie.
There we go. Everyone needs a Yume bestie.
Oh my god, they're gonna listen to this podcast later and they're gonna hate me.
Oh no. Hi there.
Hello. Yeah, because I was just curious, because a lot of people have created many games before they have their first game that gets thrust into the spotlight, but it seems like Grimm's Hollow was quite, if not, it wasn't technically your first game, but it might be your second game probably, and it's just, so it's quite interesting to see the viewpoint of someone whose game just immediately got in the spotlight.
There was also development hell.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it takes a lot of effort to make something look easy.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'll move it on to Harmless. How did you come about making games?
Okay, so I'll try to go over the timeline as like simply as I can. So essentially, when I was like roughly 13, really young, I discovered RPG Maker 2K3. And I found out about it. I can't remember if I was looking for a software to make games or if I stumbled on Zelda fan games, because there's this French Zelda fan game called Zelda Solaris that like was made in RPG Maker, I think 2000, and it did it so well. It was like really close to the, at least to my childhood eyes, it was like literally a Zelda Link to the Past game. So I found the source files, dug into them, like learned a bunch of stuff, and I tried to make my own little fan games when I was really young, but I'd never get anything done because I was really young. But yeah, just the notion that you could take Zelda sprites and put them in an engine and like play it was crazy to me. Then after for a while, I stopped going into video games because I really got into music, into metal, and into punk and all that cool emo stuff. And I just learned guitar, learned singing, learned music production, and that was pretty much my life for almost 10 years. I even went to study in music, but I really sucked, so I left after not even a semester. And then I went to study in college in integration multimedia, which is to say what that is in English is essentially integration. So video editing, audio editing, basic programming using Flash and ActionScript, web design, web development, all that fun stuff. So the perfect thing for a jack of all trades like me. And then from there, I was like, okay, cool. I have a job in web. And I'm kind of like, I'm not really vibing with the whole punk thing anymore, because a lot of the bands I tried to join, like, I felt like I was the only one who wanted to get anything done. No shade on anyone else I've worked with. It was just like, I could just tell that their priorities were like on like, their career and not on like music. And eventually Undertale came out, and I had played with Game Maker. So when I saw Undertale, I was like, I understand how the pieces are made. Like, I couldn't have made something as well assembled as this, but I know how the individual parts were made, and I was just so floored by that I got really deep into game making after that. And yeah, I did my first few attempts at remaking a game. First attempt got floored. Second attempt was Machines That Bleed, which I ended up finishing the demo, but I ended after the first like act or whatever. And then I was like, I'm going to restart Machines That Bleed and it's going to be better. And slowly over time and over change, it turned into Lockheart Indigo, which got released this year. So, yeah.
Wow, yeah.
So that's pretty much my journey.
Because some people might have only been aware of you recently, but you've been on a long journey of development and maybe losing motivation and then coming back. It's had its ups and downs, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I think it's not so much losing motivation as much as it is I'm a very like maybe you can tell in the way I talk, I have a lot of energy all the time. And so when I focus on something, I zero in on it like really hard. So when I shifted from game making, because I was a kid, so I didn't really like, even if in my head I was like, oh, I want to do games, I wasn't really like serious. I wasn't like actually committed to it. But music I was. And so when my shift changed to that, it was a like a deep dive. So I went out of games because I was 100% into music, and then I went out of that and into my studies, and then I went out of that and back into video games. And so I'm just very, I don't know, I just kind of, I machine gun through things.
Yeah, I've another question here. What types of games are you interested in, and what inspires you to create stuff?
What type of games am I interested in? Okay, I'll focus on that first. I think, like the games that really got me into video games in general, they tended to be very like narrative driven and kind of like story driven. Because like I enjoyed like I grew up on like stuff like Kirby Superstar Ultra, and those are fun. And I love them, but like I think it was when I played Shadow of the Colossus and like Journey that I realized, oh wait, games can actually make me feel a lot of things. That and then and they can make me feel things in like ways that is unique to the medium. You know, like because like I remember what I felt feeling those games when I watched the credits roll versus like how I feel reading a good book or how I felt reading a good or watching a good movie. It was unique. So I think after that I was just kind of like chasing that feeling of of like you know, like story driven games that evoke emotion. And I think it's kind of funny that I cited those games as inspirations because like the game that I ended up making ended up being very text heavy, whereas those games that initially like got me into the medium, they relied mainly on like gameplay mechanics and like visuals, and they were kind of minimalist in their like text or dialogue and actually conveying things. So yeah. What was the other question?
Yeah, I guess what about those games inspires you to create, or what inspires you to create your games?
Okay, I've only made the one, so I don't know what I can. I don't know how much I can say about this, but like I think like do you ever just like have like a game trailer play in your head and then you're like, oh god, the game doesn't exist, and then a couple of minutes after you have the subsequent realization, oh god, I'm the only one who can make the game because I have the idea.
I've been set on a path. Oh, that's great.
So then, I mean, I know of like some developers who like they sort of struggle with like managing the amount of ideas they have for a game because they have like loads of different you know, exciting game projects they want to work on because they're like really creative and stuff. But for me, like I have like one idea once in a century. So like once I have it, it's kind of like, I can't really let go of this now. So yeah.
Harmless. What kinds of games are you interested in, and if there's anything about them that inspires you to create your stuff?
Hell yeah. So games that I'm interested in, it's crazy because my tastes have changed a lot since I released Lockheart and since I've like started transitioning, just because I've kind of allowed myself to kind of be more in touch with myself. Like I realized how much my tastes were informed by how I was kind of performing my identity before. So, you know, I was like, oh, I have to get like games that are refined. And then I stumbled on games that managed to both be complete like degenerate messes and also say something really smart, and that's when it clicked for me. It's like, oh, like dumb games are cool too, and you just because a game is dumb doesn't mean it can't be smart at the same time. Like Danganronpa isn't necessarily like a work of art, but it's definitely an example of like, this is really well made, but also this is so dumb. So I'm currently beginning the third Danganronpa, if anyone's curious. I've also been playing I've shamelessly been playing a lot of big booby anime fighting games. I don't know why, there's just something so like unapologetic and just so like how to say, like, it's not trying to be refined, it's just trying to be a game, it's just trying to be fun, and there's something really like fun about that. There's just a playfulness to it, which is why I've been getting a lot into those. When we talk about limbs, I think I'll add more onto that. As far as what inspires me to make games, I get inspired by more than just games for my development. I watch a lot of anime. I watch movies a lot. I try to read. I haven't done much yet. There's something about there's something about fiction that doesn't draw me as much for some reason in reading.
Right.
I like reading like stuff where I can learn like psychology and stuff like that. And I kind of draw from a lot of that. I know that for Lockheart, I was very, very inspired from like stuff like Revolutionary Girl Utena. If you've ever watched it, you'll recognize like some of the art style, and some of the UI stuff is super, like, it's just like an Ironworks version of that. I'm also super inspired by music and the narratives that they have, and some of the complex emotions you can show in music that is not so obvious to show in other mediums. So that's pretty much a lot of my inspirations.
Yeah, there's something to say about a game that so messily engages with something that will just sort of without care for what's supposed to be done or what's expected from players, that they'll do whatever. I think there's more of a willingness to do whatever works rather than what is seen to work. It feels like they'll because someone says, oh, don't do this, or don't include this mechanic in your game too much, it'll but then if they there's something about just adding to the style whatever works for your game without worrying too much about what's seen as the trendy or smart thing to do, that can really unlock new possibilities for art and games in general.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely very tired of like the armchair philosophy kind of that's going on a lot, and just like Twitter and other social medias have really enabled people to voice their opinions, which is great, but sometimes it leads to a lot of like armchair philosophy of like, when really, like, why talk about it when you could just like go at it and like make a game, and even if you fucking fall on your face and break your nose, you've done something and it's cool and people can refer to that for their work later. I don't know, it's just I'm very much like, go do it.
Yeah.
Actions speak louder than words.
Wait,
Yes.
Also, I hate to digress, but like, would one of those like big movie anime games, would that happen to be Dead or Alive, or?
And we'll move on to what is your specific method per se of creating your games? How do you go about doing it? Is there a step-by-step process, or do you just sort of lead it by get led by your nose? What kind of
I'm ready
what
to go if
structures
you
do
want me to go first.
Yeah, go.
Yes, please.
Hell yeah. So Lockheart's development was very messy because the first half of the development, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And the second half, I was starting to get at grips as to what I was doing. And Limbs' development has been like a race car, because I know exactly what I'm doing, where I'm pulling from. I feel like my game developing muscles are like all developed now, and I just flex on that stuff. When I was beginning my development with Lockheart, I feel it's important to talk about when things were messy for me and when things were like, when it's optimal, just because it's like, I think like in a lot of Discord discussions that you and I have seen recently, Cash, like there's a lot of people struggling with a lot of like their development. Yes. And I kind of just want to show the like what it looks like when it's going bad for me, just so people know this shit is normal. Yeah. Yes, I lost my thought. Great.
The initial game development process for Lockheart Indigo, it wasn't like as streamlined as your new process, you'd say. So what's different?
Yeah,
how did it start off?
So because I was starting off of the basis that it was going to be the next Machines That Bleed, which is very sci-fi set in the future, I had a lot of robot stuff. I had planned for a lot of robotic stuff. And I must confess that the only reason why Lockheart Indigo has like a bit of a steampunk robot stuff is because I had assets that I didn't want to waste. Robots? Because originally it was just going to be a period, like the new concept I had was, it was just going to be a period piece, but I didn't want to give up on Margaret sprites, who looked really cool. She was an interesting character too. She's in Machines That Bleed as a different character. Like her sprite is there a little different, and she plays a different role and stuff. And I really wanted to keep that character there in the other one. So a lot of it had to do with like adjusting stuff. I also I had a specific idea for how the plot was going to go down, and then I kind of like started existing in the Twitter ecosystem a little bit more, and I started understanding like, oh, okay, there's some stuff, there's some like, there's some topics you got to be careful with. So I had to like course correct while the script was almost done, and so like I had to go a lot like very sideways with the writing, and I didn't know how to write at the time. So as I started understanding what I was doing, I think it'd be good for me to go down what I do for Limbs, maybe? Yeah, okay. So for Limbs, what I started doing is I just there was an urge to make a game, and I had a gut feeling. And so what I started doing is just consuming as much content that was in the same lineage as that, try to understand okay, what's the history of the genre, what not just the game genre, like action RPG or the hack and slash, but also the story genre. So in that case, it was for Limbs, it was 90s horror mixed with shitty anime horror, I wanted the cheese in there. I also knew that like I wanted a little bit of that like Twitter horny humor, which is the best way I can describe it. The Twitter horny
Brilliant.
humor genre.
Wonderful
So I just consumed a bunch of that. Then I started like kind of drawing these. I'm not a good illustrator, but I tried drawing these characters and trying to like find these sort of people or characters that I could like kind of project onto a little bit. Then I got an illustrator to like do the final designs for them to really give them like, I'm a strong believer that a character isn't like complete until someone else has touched it because they put their own projection on it. And it's like, you know, it's not just like there's more depth to the character the second that two hands have been on it, you know? And so the person that did the designs for Limbs is someone by the name of Dino99, who's like popping off right now on Twitter. They're doing really good with their game, and I'm really proud of them. So once I have the characters, like the mood is there. Like I've got the art direction and stuff, and then I just start working on the mechanics. I prototype that stuff. I had 3 prototypes for Limbs that happened in secret. And then I made like this big like there was this monstrous list of plugins I made myself for the mechanics of Limbs, and just trying to get the feel of the game right. Just trying to like get the heart of the thing there. I don't care about making the story yet. I just want to get the mood and the the Yume Nikki version of the game, if that's a good way to put it, where it's like there's not a lot of like fluff in it yet. It's just like you're just in a room and you're doing things. Then after I started writing the script, that's where I'm at right now in the process at the moment. And then sorry, I know I'm going on for a while, but then after once that's done, I'd finish the assets, do all the levels, and doing all the levels involves like making all the rooms even if they're empty and then filling them in slowly, then polishing a little bit, then probably adding the bosses and like the stuff. And then after all of that's done, that's when I'd start putting in the dialogue and the cutscenes and all that. Like I really want the game part of the game to be done before I put in the cutscenes, because I have a script written, so that's a good way to like, I plan the writing, I plan the levels based on the themes of the writing, and then I glue them together afterwards. And then after, I think it'd just be a bunch of QA and like, quality control and making sure the game is
sort of like a layer on layer kind of. You went one part of the process, then the other. Like for some part of it, at least, maybe during the latter half. Of the project.
Yeah, the best way I can like simplify the process is incubation period, where you're just taking in the culture of what you're trying to do. Then the growth period, where you're just building and writing and you're going all messy. Then there's a sculpting period where you cut off what you don't need, and then that's usually when you've got your like finished product.
Question. Bear with me my 5-second memory, but you mentioned that regarding characters, it was like important to get like 2 hands on it, I think, right? Yeah. And you're referring mainly to character design, right? Or just like in general, like in terms of writing and the character concepts, or
due to the nature of character design, the way it informs the character. So for example, Beatrice was originally Buster, and we were redesigning it, me and the artist I was working with at the time, and we were kind of stuck in a rut, and I was like, you know what, let's break a few rules, try gender bending the character a little bit. And one of the designs ended up being Beatrice, and like we both really like glued onto that, to the point where I was like, I'm willing to change the setting of the story to fit that character, because there's a personality there. And like a lot of this is a situation where the artist is really what like added a lot to the character. As for Limbs, I put a lot into the characters. I already had like a somewhat design, and the artist I was working with, Dino, when they retouched them, a lot of the nuances they added to it, I kind of read that and try to have my own interpretation of it to try to give it its own life. I want a little bit of myself in the characters, so that when I'm writing, I can like project and kind of figure out where they're going emotionally. But but if there's someone else's like little nuances on it, then I can interpret that as like something a little bit alien for me, so that I can explore that too. You know?
Yeah.
I was gonna say something and I forgot. Oh wait, when you mentioned the name Dino, I just realized, is that also the developer of I think The Secret of Vincent Myers? I think, is that what it's called?
Yes.
For those like listening to the podcast, The Secret of Vincent Myers is like a Red Pie visual novel, I believe, which is. To be honest, I haven't played it, but like I'm sorry, I don't know them, but their art style is very like recognizable and like memorable, so that's why I remember seeing it. Yeah. Building on like having two eyes on a character, I didn't have like a character designer or anything, but I think like exposing your character early on to other people is also very important, because I remember like some aspects of my character were only developed my characters were only developed because I showed it to other people, like the fact that like Grimm likes oolong tea. Like I only got that tidbit because someone looked at his character and he was like, you know what? He looks like he likes oolong tea. And I was like, you're really right. So I think
That's great.
Yeah. So I think
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because in your situation, you're also the artist, so having that second hand on the project means something completely different than in my situation where I'm not the artist. I don't I can pixel art, but
Cool. So now we're going to move on to our next segment, the question book. This is the question book, the segment where RPG Maker community users ask questions related to game development and design that we probably don't know the answers to, but we'll try. Our first question is a question by SB. They'd like to ask, would you recommend itch.io as a platform for other RPG Maker developers, say, for example, those with commercial titles?
I think yes. Personally, my like commercial strategy, if you want, in brackets trademark, is I put on Steam and on itch. Those are my two main platforms. I tried other platforms too, like GameJolt, and it didn't work out for me, but I see that a lot of people like GameJolt, so I wouldn't necessarily cross it off the list. Itch.io's got like great, like, it's a great place for you to try to get the front page, you've got an advantage in the algorithm department there. So it's really good to get your name out there for like the more marketing aspect of stuff. You're not going to get a lot of sales, but you are going to get a lot of eyeballs. So I say definitely try itch.io. And then the bulk of your sales are going to happen in Steam. And I'm talking like almost 10 times the sales you'd have in itch.io. Though you do have it's important to mention you have a better cut on itch.io. Like you can decide how much you keep of the money and how much goes to itch. But I would say that the difference still makes it that Steam is significantly more sales for you. So I'd say, I use both of these to that's my strategy. You want?
To my knowledge, on Steam, you pay a $100 fee to get your game on Steam, but if you manage to make up for that from like what you earn, you can recoup that, I think.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's to dissuade. Asset
right.
flippers.
Right.
And also, I mean, I haven't gone commercial, but like to my knowledge, itch, it doesn't cost like anything to put your game up on itch and to receive money on it, I think, right? So like even if you do end up going for another platform, you can always still put your game up on itch, I think.
Yeah. So, itch, no cost. The one what's the expression in English? My French is like messing with my ability to say a sentence. But anywho, the one caveat, there you go. The one caveat I would put in is that if you do decide to go with Steam and other engines, there are certain rules regarding pricing with Steam. So like you can't have, for example, you can't have your game for $6 on itch and then for $10 on Steam. That's bad. You can have specials, like on Steam you have a special, but on itch you don't have a special. But the core price needs to be the same on all your platforms. So that's the one thing I'd say to be careful.
Yes. And I think a cool feature of Itch is that you have the opportunity to tip more than the recommended amount when you're buying, which is, I think it's really cool to be able to give more to your to developers if you want to. Like, it's just like, okay, I think this deserves more than the $1 price that you've put on it. I'll pay you $5, sort of thing. Because I think a lot of that, sometimes we just pay the set amount, but wouldn't mind paying more for the experience we're being given.
Does anyone want to hear about my experience trying to explain what itch.io is at Comic-Con?
Right, sure, go ahead.
Oh, please.
No, because, I think... I was not originally going to put my game on Steam, right? But the thing is, what happened is when I went to Comic-Con and tried to show my game to people, is that people would be like, oh, what platform is this releasing on? And I was like, oh yeah, it's just going to be on, like itch.io, rpgmaker.net, Game Jolt. And then they were like, sorry? What's that? What's itch? What's itch?
Like, what language are you speaking?
Yeah. So then they would just like cut across me and they were going to be like, is it going to be on Steam? And then, so what happened is the first 10 people, I was like, oh, no, there's no plans for it to be on Steam. And then by the time I got to the 11th person, I was like, yeah, you know what? It's going to be on Steam. I just got fed up, and that's when I decided to put it on Steam. So
that might be one of the. You reckon that was one of the best decisions you made to put it on Steam?
It was a good decision. Like, yeah, it was a good decision. I wasn't ever, like, when I was making the game, I didn't imagine it reaching a wide audience, and when I was developing it, I didn't really develop it with the idea of reaching a general audience, I guess. So, like, putting it on Steam was kind of like a big decision, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congrats, your game is great, and it deserves the attention it's
getting. Thank you.
Exactly. Chloe asks, best RTP waifu and best RTP monster? And favorite flavor, if any, of ice cream?
So for my waifu, I actually have a husbando. So there's this character called Craze in RPG Maker 2003. He's like a wizard-looking character with like white / blue hair. It's all pulled back except for a little bit in front of his eye, and he looks all like dark and mysterious. But if you look at his battle sprite, he's actually like wiggling around in this very like kind of flamboyant way, and I'm just like, okay, I'm picking him. And for the enemies, I mean, let me just. Oh, there's a centipede monster in RPG Maker 2003, so I'm gonna pick that one because centipedes are really cool.
I use RPG Maker 2003, and this is like news to me. So the fact that there's a centipede monster.
What are these names?
I feel really uncultured because I don't remember the RTP all that well. But
yeah.
Okay, I use like the sprite for the little ghost thing. The little ghost NPC, the little ghost sprite that comes with the engine. I like that sprite a lot because when you when you put it on like a high speed, like the animation for it is really smooth. So
yeah,
and also yeah,
it's so good. Like all the ghosts, the primary ghost sprites in RPG Maker have generally been quite evocative and good designs. I like them.
So I'm biased towards that NPC in particular.
And flavor of ice cream, if any.
I have like a bit of a childish palate. I'm just like your standard like cookies and cream.
Ooh.
And I like pistachio as well, I think.
I'm a big fan of vanilla. Just vanilla dipped in chocolate.
Oh, that is good.
To give you an idea of how exotic I like to go, I had fairy bread ice cream the other day, and it was so good. Butter a piece of bread and then put hundreds and thousands on it.
I'm looking at the pictures and it's really colorful. So
and also I just love salted caramel as well.
Oh wait, also I would like to retract my answer because I just remembered that kulfi exists and kulfi is really good. It's KULFI, and like I didn't think of it at first because I don't think you would get it like an ice cream parlor, but like it's described as like traditional like eating ice cream basically, and it's really good.
Yeah, we'll move on to a question by It's Totally Just Me, Clint. Here's a question for Harmless. Will you make another game that has the same theme, yet a different perspective or character?
So I may be working on some other ideas for some other Lockheart stuff. That's all I have to say. You know, something Scarlet, something Moon, something.
Yeah, this is a question for both Ghosthunter and Harmless, still from It's Totally Just Me, Clint. What's your favorite kind of cheese?
Halloumi.
I like the singles craft because you can throw them on people's faces, and I think that meme is really funny and never gets old.
You throw cheese at people's faces? Harmless.
Hiding behind a bush and just chucking the cheese over at someone, a passerby, you know.
We can't do our detective game, but we could make a game where like Harmless chucks cheese at people's faces.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's a meta narrative where I write a game about myself, but also I deconstruct myself. It's going to be great. It's going to be called Cheesing It.
Cheesing It with Harmless.
The different cheese types gives you different upgrades. Okay. Okay, I'm done.
Dang, just think about all the different cheeses that could be items in the game. I'm one of those polarizing cheese type people. I love the blue cheese. I enjoy the blue cheese, except I don't like, how it does to your breath. But it's like, it's blue cheese. Like, what do you expect? It's very strong. It's not gonna treat you kindly. It's its own thing. That's what I enjoy about it.
Cheese Indigo.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm being an idiot.
Anyway, next question. How much development hell did you come across while making the games you've made?
Yes.
Yes.
I guess like making GH itself was not like development hell, but like the lead up to it was development hell. I think I've discussed this. So yeah. As
a new person in making RPG Maker games, what kind of advice would you give me, that's Clint, in making games? Who can I find that would help me commission sprites and other stuff for a price I can afford for or free? Actually, that's a legitimate question. Commissioning. What are
You can look into Fiverr. There's some people there that'll work for cheap if you want to. And yeah, a lot of them are starting out or want to, be known. Though that can be delicate sometimes. So there's also just hanging out on Twitter and meeting people and befriending people and, like doing skill trades and stuff. Like I've written music in exchange for designs. That's what I did for Dino. Or, people always love getting paid for their work. It's a good way to show respect, And I know that, like, at the end of the day, you're trying to save money, but it's always, like, a really nice show of respect and of mutual, like, mutual beneficial relationship type thing to, pay well the people you work with, especially if your plans are to go professional. If you're more hobbyist, of course, you can kind of just, do skill trades and stuff like that. And yeah, just advice for a new RPG Maker person: nurture the relationships you have because they're very important, and they'll help you both in your personal life and in your professional life.
That's actually really sweet advice.
Yeah, it is sweet because like the idea of skill trades, I haven't really thought of that or been involved in that. I see a lot of commissions open kind of signs on Twitter that people, like, especially during this time, if you can afford to commission someone for sprites, I'm sure they would really appreciate that you, first of all, love their art enough to pay them, pay them for it, and also, just give them money. Yeah. It's during this time, if you can afford it, go ahead and try it out. But it sounds like this question is specifically geared towards a money light situation, to which I'd say what Harmless has already said. If they're to get sprites for free, as they've kind of stated it, it's sort of you need something to give back, whether it's either you're working on a team with someone, but you have to give your own skills as well. So the thing about making games, it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of just improving its skills and everything. So in order to attract people, you also need to give as well. You can't, there's no such thing as taking, I suppose, from the community without also giving. It's sort of a trade kind of thing, I'd say. I don't know, I maybe didn't describe it so well, but...
No, I completely agree with what you said. And I want to bring one caveat. I mentioned Fiverr. Something that's important to know is that a lot of the people who go towards Fiverr are either people who are starting out and don't have much experience, right? Or some of the higher skilled people will offer their services for cheap because a lot of them come from third world countries or other like places where like the financial situation is a little different in their country. So you can tip there. So even if you go and you find someone cheap, it'd be really, really like tactful and courteous of you to like tip and to actually pay them the proper amount. I think that's something that really needs to be said because I feel like Fiverr is in this like it's a controversial website because it economically it's positioned in a very like morally ambiguous position, and like you got to be careful of how you engage with that financial side of things. You got to respect people and stuff. So yeah.
Our next question is by Froge. My question is for Hammy. He says, how do you think Lockheart Indigo helped you with finding a professional career in game development? What do you think the most useful piece of knowledge you learned from making small indie games in RPG Maker would be in the professional field?
Learning workflow and project management is always an amazing skill to have, even if you're just like a single unit person working in a big pipeline in a company later on, because you can self-manage really well and you know how to communicate to your project manager efficiently, and that's a rare skill that not everyone has. So that's already really good. I would say how Lockheart helped me. So Lockheart got me like 2 or 3 jobs. I got hired because I like presented what I had worked on, and it wasn't always game developing jobs either. Sometimes it was web. It was like, hey, this is what I do in my free time, and they know, not only can they see that I have a certain set of skills, but also they see that when I'm left to my own devices, I keep busy. I'm not like, just playing games all the time. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's an asset for you when you're in the interview process. So I would say like definitely keep in the back of your mind how your games are going to reflect in your professional world if you choose to present them during the interview process or in your resume or in your portfolio or whatnot. I
have a question from T. It's a simple question, and I ask it to both of you because it's T from Driftwood Gaming. It was for Harmless originally, but I'll ask it to Ghost Hunter as well. How did you pick your name?
Do you want to go first, Ghost?
Oh, there was no like real interesting backstory for mine.
It's like hunting ghosts.
Just I have to make an account for Discord for this game basically, and I was like, oh, okay, what's something that kind of sounds like my game? And I just went for Ghost Hunter, and then that just kind of stuck. I mean, to be honest, like I bashed my head like against the wall trying to figure out like what name should my game developer name be, and then what ended up happening, it was just something I thought about in like 5 seconds. So,
that's how it sometimes tends to be.
So for Harmless, so there's a lot of interesting stories around the name, but there's 2 main reasons why I picked the name Harmless. One is that when I write like Harmless Games, which is like the other alias I kind of go under, Harmless Games is a riff on like the whole violent video game thing. It's like, oh, it's just harmless, or like the whole boys will be boys type like idea. So it's like a kind of a joke on that. The idea that something that's perceived as harmless can be harmful, it's a misnomer in the sense. And I also do like, all my games have to do with like, violence and like mystery and like a cloak and dagger stuff. So it's very much a misnomer where I'm like, I'm using the word, like, it's like, don't think of an elephant and then you've thought of an elephant. Don't think about harm. You're thinking about harm.
It's a bit ironic, That's it.
Yeah, and like the reason why the name kind of works is because the aesthetic I put with it is like very like horror. If I were trying to appear like if my aesthetic was really cute and my name was Harmless, that'd be like sus. And I have a funny story about that. So in the early periods of my transition, I started meeting a lot of new people in Montreal, and someone was presenting me to someone else, and I like my brain like 2 wires must have touched or something when they were introducing me, because I wasn't transitioned far enough to feel comfortable to use like the name I wanted to transition to, but I didn't want to use my dead name either, and I just decided to say I'm Harmless, and I swear to God, I've never seen someone like back off in a second. So I'm never doing that mistake ever again.
KV Kingdom asks, why RPG Maker and not another engine? Could you have used Unity or some other engine? Are you most familiar with RPG Maker? Is it the community? Was price a factor?
I think RPG Maker is I feel like it's one of the most like accessible engines out there, really, because the thing with Unity and Godot, don't know, and Game Maker and etc. is when you get into it, you have to do like a lot of work to make something that's playable. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have to do that for like any engine, but like the thing is with RPG Maker is that when you get it, you have like a basic template already set up for you. So
Straight out of the box.
Yeah, so like you press a play button, you already have something that's playable, which is like really, I think like it's really friendly for people who are interested in like who are maybe a bit more like art focused or or interested in writing and like people who don't feel very strong at programming, I think. And I think like the fact that it's so accessible is part of the appeal of RPG Maker for me, and also the community, because the community like they make lots of like nice tutorials on getting started and stuff. I mean, I think
Yeah.
like RPG Maker has a very strong community. Like the recent engines in particular. Yeah, the recent engines like you know like how Yan Fly like upholds like the entire RPG Maker community with the plugins. So
and like carrying the entirety of the community on their back.
Yeah, I just mentioned this in the first episode with Driftwood Gaming that without Yanfly, RPG Maker would not be the same engine that it is
like,
today.
What's the name?
the same
What's the name of the most recent RPG Maker that got announced? RPG Maker
MZ. Yeah.
MZ? Oh, okay. The current one is MV.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, right.
A little confusing, but that one, to my knowledge, that one still doesn't have like the Yanfly plugins, and like if Yanfly is not going to work on the most recent one, then like the chances of me purchasing it is sort of like decreased by a large amount. Yeah.
So I have some insider knowledge on this. So Yanfly is passing the torch over to the Vizustella team, and I had the chance to work with them and develop some of the plugins for MZ. So I just want to thank the team. You guys are really cool. It was fun to do a few plugins for y'all.
That's Arkea and Kaz, correct?
Yeah, and I think there's a few other people too. There were a few other, like I got to meet a few other plugin makers too. It's very cool. So the new engine MZ, there's a lot of old plugins that are being ported. There's a lot of new stuff. Being kind of coming from a programmer background, I love the way MZ has kind of been adjusted. I know there's been a lot of critique that MZ is just MV, but like just a little better, and people feel a little cheaped out. But having seen the inside of the code personally, I really like what I'm seeing, and I like some of the changes they did. It's also a lot more mobile friendly, which I find very interesting. What was the original question? Hold up,
why RPG Maker?
Oh, right. So I'm currently learning a little bit of Unreal and a little bit of Blender. So I might eventually shift over, but that won't happen anytime soon because I've made too many plugins.
You're not gonna create 3D games in RPG Maker?
I mean, I could. Like, you render the images, and you've got yourself a sprite sheet pretty quickly, man.
Sure thing.
Speaking of like 3D games in RPG Maker, I saw like a plugin that makes everything in MV like 3D the other day, and then when I went on the front, page of itch.io, there was like a new RPG Maker MV game where someone used that plugin to make a lo-fi gallery. Like a little interactive lo-fi gallery where you could like walk around and like view art pieces and read a bit about it, and it was meant to like simulate being like in an actual art gallery. So I thought that was like a really inventive like use of the plugin. Yeah. And wait, Harmless, did I like interrupt you?
Oh, well, you can finish saying what you were going to say. I'm going to finish my question after.
Oh, usually you kind of just pick the engine depending on what kind of game you feel like you want to make.
Yeah.
Really. So like for RM2K3, what was really nice about it was I think the limitations of the engine kind of actually helped me creatively in a way because knowing I could only make a certain type of game prevented like I don't know, like choice anxiety or like it like so and then I know that people have used like RM2K3 to I know that people have like worked around the engine to make like all sorts of different things in it and such as like platformers and shooters even or whatnot but for me like I don't know how to do that so the constrictions
Shout
really
out to Joseph Seraph.
Yes. Good friend of mine. I've made games with Joseph as well. Excellent. One of my early RPG Maker friends. Harmless, you were going to say something about?
Yeah, so originally I was working in Game Maker when I was making the first version of Machines That Bleed, and my progress was a little too slow because I wasn't experienced enough. And then I saw that MZ was all made using web technology. And my background is web development, which means JavaScript. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I can fuck with this.
Yeah.
I can adjust the machine to the way I need it. And I ended up using a shit ton of Yanfly scripts, a shit ton of other scripts, made my own scripts. And that's how Lockheart Indigo ended up getting that very like Game Boy look. I tried really hard to detach from the RPG Maker look. Like I still wanted it to be like, oh, okay, you can clearly see that there's a bit of Yume Nikki influence in there and a little bit of this and that mixed in there, but the engine itself didn't feel like an RPG Maker game. That was really important to me. So that's the reason why I went for MV.
Yeah, the thing with your game is that it seems like if I didn't know that it was made in RPG Maker, I might not have guessed. I might have even guessed Game Maker or some of the engines. So I'd say you're successful in that regard.
I felt the same way. I remember like opening up Lockheart Indigo and like seeing the custom menus. I was like, whoa, that's not something I see every day. So
they're really buggy.
What?
You can break them really easily if you try.
I think I did break it once, but I fixed it in like a couple of seconds. So it wasn't too much of an issue. Listen,
it's
a good
sign.
Really nice, so don't worry.
It's a good sign
Thank you.
When someone plays your game, they break the menu, and then part of the gameplay is you have to fix it.
No. It just kind of fixed by itself. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember what happened.
Okay.
I mean, I forgot. The important thing is I forgot that happened until you brought it up. So, it's all good.
That's great. Yeah, no, the reason for that is I don't know what I did in the game, but there's something with the image system that bugs in Lockheart Indigo. Like it's not a bug, like the engine bugs with Lockheart Indigo, not what I did.
Yeah.
So I have to find what my code did to the engine to cause it to do that. And that's why there's a lot of visual glitches in Lockheart that are like they aren't even like RPG Maker bugs. They're like bugs with the backbone of it. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like it's weird. So part of me's kind of given up on like fixing all of that.
So, yeah, I do. Yeah, if I have like one quip with like, I mean, if I have a couple of quips, but like if I had like one quip with like RM2K3, it's like some of the some of the bugs that are very specific to the engine that are sort of hard to fix. Like I know that when I released the game, I got some messages from people saying that they could not use the keyboard, and I tried to do some research into this, and apparently what you have to do to fix it is you have to download a tiny software by Cherry, and you have to run that, and that's the only way to fix that issue.
Yeah.
So that was a little but yeah. It's a little oof.
Yeah, there's some little quirks like that. We've got a few questions left, but we are actually running a little low on. It's getting late for some people, and I need to get to work soon. So I'm gonna rush through a couple of these questions. Some of these are a repeat for previous stuff about inspiration and so on, and some of them I touch later on. I'm gonna go for a question by Spicy Roll. Hey, Ghost Hunter, did you get a new tablet?
Okay, so for those who don't know, Spicy Roll is Spicy Roll's other name is J-Roll, and they're also the developer of Roti's Room, which is an RPG Maker MV game that uses hand-drawn custom assets, and it's looking very promising. And they're also my friend. And basically what happened a couple of months ago is that my drawing tablet completely broke. So, and then, I told them about that. And yeah, I do have a replacement tablet, but yes, small little small little tangent, but I was really upset when the wire snapped for my Wacom, but I think in an odd way it was actually kind of good for me because I was forced to go back to like pencil and paper, and then when I went back to pencil and paper, I realized that my hand-eye coordination was completely screwed by looking at the screen and drawing on the Wacom. So yeah. So that was actually an important discovery. So
Right.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Great. We're going to go into our next segment, which is called The Deep Dive. In this section, we dive deep into each of our guest projects and figure out what went on during the process, inspirations and elsewise. Starting with, there's this game called Lockheart Indigo. It's like Zelda-style scrolling maps mixed with sort of Phoenix Wright style conversational combat with, say, the pulpy investigation of L.A. Noire, maybe, combined with some classic Agatha Christie portraits, the sort of swagger that they all exude. And the idea expressed in the game is that with the right words, the right intonations, the ironworks give way and the heart spills its secrets. I was wanting to ask, where did the nexus of this mystery type game come along? Would you describe it as a mystery?
Yeah, no, it's definitely like the way I understood the game in my head was that you've got this thread of mysteries that you've got to untangle, and a lot of them are the knots that you have to untangle are the people who are like blocking you from information and redirecting you and whatnot. To kind of go over through the deep dive as quickly as I can, a lot of the games like focus on psychology and on like the communicative aspect of getting people to open up. A lot of that came from a space where in my past I felt like to be like validated or accepted in my group of friends, I often had to just kind of behave in a way that I knew would make them like me, like I was becoming like a little too obsessed with like saying the right things. I noticed that it didn't really matter what my opinions were as long as I said them in a certain way. Like I could say the same thing in two different ways, and one of them would give me a positive response, one of them would give me a negative response. I've moved on to having better friends now, and things are a little better, and in my transition, and I'm doing a lot better. But it's probably tangled with a bunch of other messy stuff from my childhood. But the point being that like that really came from this, like I had this like weird phobia of communicating, or this weird anxiety about communication, that really made me feel disconnected from all my relationships, and really made me feel like I like the second you start digging in psychology too, it gets a little too like weirdly meta, where like every relationship starts feeling fake because you understand the mechanics of human interaction, and it gets really weird. And I just wanted to put all that anxiety into a project because I couldn't express it verbally to someone, so the game kind of became my conduit for that. And as the game took a lot of time to develop, I started developing a taste in like retro anime, like Revolutionary Girl Utena, which is why the game has a lot of like flowery kind of imagery. I really wanted to have that like weird division where it's like things are very organic, but they're ironworks of something organic. They're like fakely organic, And the game has this dichotomy between like, coldness and warmth, organic and machine. I really try to play with that duality. And if you get to some of the more secret areas of the game, Beatrice opens up to certain characters about how she feels about certain things, and how she thinks God views her. Which I think is like, to have a character who's both morally ambiguous and believes in God and is aware of how God must see her is, I think, like just an area of conversation that I wanted to have in the game. And to touch on Limbs of Cognition shortly, which is the next project I'm working on, with Lockheart being so restrained and just dealing with such dark like stuff, and just being very like trapped within itself. I wanted something really loose and really fun that like was very like shameless. And so Limbs of Cognition is like very much like a cheesy, like you're fighting zombies and like your two characters are like these like very queer cyborg like type characters, and they're just like they're tripping on in all the blood and gore and guts that can happen, and they even flirt with the bosses sometimes and stuff like that. So I just like Lockheart, I had very like professional aspirations with it, and with Limbs, I'm just letting loose, and I just want to like stretch my legs a little bit. You know, I don't have any aspirations for it. I just want me and the people who are going to play it to have fun.
And that's sort of like linked to the fact that you've got a new job with Ubisoft now, and you can now focus on making more free games as opposed to things that were going to get you money to pay for yourself, right?
Yeah, I reduced the price to Lockheart once I got hired, because I just like I think it was my way of like kind of thanking the people who had supported me, and like reaching that point where I'm like, okay, I'm okay now. You know, I can fend for myself right now. I don't need everyone else's support. So I kind of wanted to like lower the price, and like for the next game, I kind of wanted to do something a little looser. I have to wait to get the okay from my job to continue working on Limbs, just because of the way things work. But like so far, I'm really happy with the new job, and I'm really happy with the work I've got like already done with Limbs. So even if I can't get to finish it, I know that like what I'll archive of it is like I've let out the ugly that I needed to. So I'm really happy with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great to hear. We're gonna loop back to Lockheart Indigo in a second, but I'll move on to Ghost Hunter's game. The one we're going to talk about is Grimm's Hollow. It's a small indie RPG released on Halloween of last year about reaping ghosts in the afterlife. A main character named Lavender wakes up surrounded by a crowd of overexcited, skull-masked strangers with cake and balloons. So cute, very nice way to wake up, but it's not their birthday, and this isn't their home. So yeah, talk about intrusion. So they also need to find their brother and escape from the outlandish townspeople of the Hollow. But are they prepared for the grave consequences? Ooh, see, the word grave. Yeah, so this is a game it's all these cute, reapers and death, and I know it all works, but I'm not too sure why it worked. I want to know why you chose this concept.
I was just a really edgy kid.
That's it. That explains everything.
Okay. Okay, seriously speaking, I think my art style in general was very round and cutesy. So even if I wanted to do something, like serious and dark and like harsh, like my art just would not let it. So, and like, I sort of struggled with that. So that just kind of lent itself naturally to when I made Grimm's Hollow. But why specifically dead people? I think ghosts are really fun to design, and I think more people should do it. Not necessarily for games, but just like, like doodling, because they do not have legs. So if you do not know anatomy, it will be a lot of fun. But as for like I think why dead people also. I think I really liked I think my favorite RPG Maker game at the time was also Off by Morse Ghost. So I think I lent myself some stylistic influences from that game in particular. And also I think I had also played Undertale at the time, and I was kind of like thinking like I didn't really want my main character to be someone who, just like mindlessly slays monsters. So I was like, what's a convenient excuse where I can still have flashy anime fighting antics, but also also like, it's not completely inhumane. So so I was like
murder.
Yeah, so like they're already, so I was like, maybe if they're just already dead, then there's no moral quandaries here. So so I think that's kind of what lent it to that. I think that's kind of where I went with there.
And it's timed with Halloween
Oh
as
yeah,
well, right?
I think Halloween. Oh no, I remember like when it comes to like making games, like I think aesthetics plays like a really important role into like what the final into like what I end up making. Like having a strong visual idea is very important for when I'm developing games. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I remember one of the first things I was doing when I was drawing concept art and trying to figure out what Grimm's Hollow is that I remember drawing like spooky food, and then like when I drew the spooky food, I remember when I drew the spooky food, I was like, oh my god, we need to have a baker. We need to.
A spooky baker.
It's funny how inspiration can work like that. You come with like a ghost cookie and some bread from the underworld and like a spooky donut, and then all of a sudden you're making bakers. Yeah, and you just start asking this question, and then you come up with this entire universe based on these simple questions.
I feel really bad for like any NPCs in my game who do not like sweet food, because that's the only thing they're getting for the rest of their life. So.
You get to decide that they don't exist, or do they?
No, they have to have sweet food. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's into their biology. Their biology craves it, and also doesn't get sick from it. So, the ideal
wonderful.
utopia. I will ask both of you a question about. I'm not really like a super artistic person, but both of your games have a very distinct palette, would you say? Like a limited palette. Grimm's uses very purples and pinks, I think. Lockheart uses monochrome with shots of different colors and stuff. Like, I don't know if it's solid fill. I don't know what the actual terms for it are. But how would you say both of you chose your visual aesthetic for your game?
For me, it was more of a matter of like, how can I stop myself from going crazy on assets? Because I remember that graphical assets during all of my abandoned projects were the things that took up the most time, and often more than not led to development hell, basically, because I would just spend so much time drawing and trying to figure out the colors and everything. And I was like, if I just put constraints onto the artwork and what I make, then that would severely reduce development time, and it would also make sure that I didn't get, I wasn't always trying to make like consistently good art assets, and just a limited palette was one way of doing it, because then I had, then I already had my colors sorted out. I didn't have to invent new colors and stuff for new palettes for new areas and stuff like that. And then secondly, like deciding which bits were going to be like simple graphics and which bits were going to be like more complex, such as like the battle animations and like the face sets and everything. So for example, like the ending scenes of Grimm's Hollow has like a lot of custom hand-drawn artwork, but like the overworld sprites, which is I think when I was developing my jam game, that took like a long time. When I put more detail into it, I decided to cut constraints on that. So and then also I think I just ended up picking purple because purple is a nice color. So
it's a good color.
It's a good color.
That's the question. That's the answer. It's a good color.
It's a good color.
It's very spooky sort of color as well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Spooky cute? I don't know.
You can lean into the pink if you want to go cute. You can lean into the purple if you want to go dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very similar answer. It was very much like I am not an artist, and I was even less of an artist, visually speaking, in the inception of Machines That Bleed. So I was like, oh, well, I like film noir, so like if I go film noir, that's at least gonna like reduce the amount of fuck up I can make.
Yeah.
And I had some friends do some tiles for me, and so essentially a lot of it came out of the necessity that if ever I needed to edit anything, well, I wasn't gonna like clash with the art style, because it was difficult to fuck it up. And then I wanted the colors to kind of just, I'm trying to remember what made me decide that, but I really liked the idea that the main characters would pop out. Yeah. I know that there's a few games that have done that before, so I kind of leaned into it. And yeah, it gives it this like cool, you get to experience like a bit of that film noir aesthetic and that a bit of that like classic detached, while still giving you that warmth when you need it.
And let's lean into like say the gameplay mechanics, but the sort of interesting choices you made there. What for both of you were the decisions you made to create the structure in the gameplay decisions in your game? I suppose what kind of thought went into that?
I just want to give my stamp of approval for the combat system in Grimm's Hollow.
Oh, for that? Wait, really? Oh, thank you.
Of course, yeah, no, I like it.
Okay, thanks so much.
For me, I don't want to. I've spoken so much. I don't want to talk too much.
No, go for it.
Okay, so I wanted there still needs to be a bit of that element of like, oh, I'm presenting a fact to you. I'm initiating the conversation as a way to like kind of move forward the investigation, which is why there's the fact action. But the rest of the mechanics is just about emotionally persuading the person. One of the weird issues I had with designing this was that I didn't actually want to enable like real life manipulators to learn from the game how to manipulate people. So I had to be really picky with what skills I gave Beatrice. So like stuff like framing is not something I put in the game. Not framing as in framing someone for something bad, but like changing the I don't want to go into too much detail, but you can read about Trump if you want and all the stuff he does, and you'll learn plenty. Anywho, but I still wanted to bring that moral ambiguity and the idea that like you can't always be soft with people if you want results, even if that person you're talking to is someone who's vulnerable, right? But like, and it's always a balance of like using a like, you know, the velvet glove or like the whip, you know. And so that's why there's like heart and power, because sometimes you need to take control of a conversation. Sometimes you need to responsibilize someone and tell them, hey, listen, you're not acting like you should be right now. Or sometimes someone who's like guilt ridden, you got to tell them, listen, this problem isn't your fault. Like it's someone else's. So I really wanted to empower the player in having, agency in a conversation in a way that you couldn't in other games usually, because it's not about which conversation you choose to have, it's about how you choose to have that conversation.
Right.
My thoughts. Okay. To be honest, most of the praise that I got for the game for GH revolved around the story and music and the artwork and the characters. So so actually for my next project I was thinking more of like slimming down on the gameplay mechanics and like focusing more on those aspects. But now that we're talking about game design, then I think for GH, like I don't know if I mentioned it previously during this episode, but I believe in like starting with mechanics first and then trying to build a story around it. So when it came to creating the skill tree and creating the rest of it, I was trying to think of ways that like the skill tree and the other game mechanics could play a part in the story, I guess. So like the entire society in Grimm's Hollow, they're like they're all like their lives are determined by the amount of spirit and energy they have, and spirit energy is sort of like the equivalent of experience points in Grimm's Hollow, I guess. So that was like one way of me trying to sort of make the gameplay mechanics be part of the story, I think.
Yeah, there's ways that you can name stuff and sort of tie them to your concepts in the game, and I feel like that was one of the, because you don't just name HP and MP or something. Like willpower, there's special. Well, there's different concepts that you kind of play around with, non-traditional names for stuff. Like instead of item, I think it's pocket, right? Is it?
Yeah. So
it adds a little bit of flavor.
Yeah,
to it.
And also like small things like treasure chests. I was trying to think of like, why would there be like a treasure chest in my world? There wouldn't be. So I replaced it with people who you find lost in caves, and that I feel like that kind of added like it's like a nice little lore thing, I guess. So trying to think of like little replacements for maybe traditional RPG mechanics and tropes, such as like replacing treasure chests with people. I think that was fun. So
yeah, I think with both games there's a sort of thinking like you don't have to immediately embrace all the tropes of say the genre you're emulating, for example, the RPG genre. If you take what you need and then you can like repurpose it and think about how it sort of supports your universe, the logic within your game, all that kind of stuff. I think that's what I see here.
Yeah.
It's just a thing to kind of summate the rest of the experience. Given your game development experience, given the wonderful games that you've made, if you could give one piece of advice or say one thing to our listeners right now, what would it be?
I wish all RPG Maker developers a pleasant evening.
Just this evening. The rest of them can be...
Learn GitHub and back up your projects on GitHub, and then you will, like, your computer can crash and burn and be on fire and everything can be destroyed, but it'll still be on GitHub.
Exactly. And optimize your projects if possible.
And learn project management. And don't hate yourself. You're doing fine. I love you. Keep on pushing on.
Exactly.
And listen to every episode of RPG Maker Cola several times and retweet it and retweet, follow. On that note, I'd like to thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been a treat. It's been incredible. I'm just so overwhelmed that you'd even say yes, but that you'd enjoy it, and I just feel very privileged.
I feel the same. This has been such a ride, and my cheeks are still hurting a bit from smiling so much.
Thank you so much for just for having us, because I don't know, I got really excited when I saw the notification that I was invited to a podcast. So especially this one, because I was already familiar with it, so it's nice.
Your support has been so incredible, and everyone else's support listening. All of you are amazing. On that kind of note of like plugging the podcast, would you what are you working on in future? Would you like to plug or promote anything that you are going to do? What should people expect from you?
I have an itch.io page, which I think is Harmless Games, I think. I don't remember. Anyways, it's on my Twitter, so everything is on my Twitter. I was working on a game called Limbs of Cognition, but that's on hiatus until I get the okay from my job. Other than that, until then, I'm just kind of working on other stuff in my corner, or like releasing my experiments with 3D and whatnot. And that's pretty much it on my end.
I'm going to plug my composers. So there's Nat Wesley, and there's whose Twitter username is The Napper, and there's also Bruno Buglisi, whose other username is Hivarus. You should give them a look, and you should check out their music. And that's it. Yes.
Hell yeah.
And on that note, I'd also like to plug my podcast, RPG Maker Cola. It's your source for game development conversations, which you are listening to currently. I'm going to stop talking. This has been your episode of RPG Maker Cola. Thank you, listeners, for being just the best of people. You are the prime of the prime. You are the cream of the crop when it comes to human beings. No, I won't give myself that credit. It's just been a privilege to be with you, listener. Thank you for listening, and have a great development journey. We will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.